I'm here.
Oh, there you are. Hello, welcome, Brian Segarra. Where are you in the world?
I'm from Puerto Rico.
Oh, awesome. We're in Puerto Rico.
I'm from Mayagüez, from the west side.
Uh huh.
I was
No.
there many, many years ago. It's a beautiful place.
Yes, it is. I love the beaches. Like most everybody to come here, they come to for the beaches, but I just love them.
All right. So, Brian, tell us a little bit about yourself. How you got into
I
camera
got.
making?
Oh,
I'm sorry.
oh, where do I start from? My photography, where I start photography, or where I start making cameras?
Give us a little bit about like who you are. We know you're in Mayagüez, and what you like to take pictures of. Kind of how you got into.
I get into photography because I found a Polaroid at a flea market, and my sister had an Instax. So I say, hey, that's the grandfather from my sister camera. So I bought it, and I found that Polaroid Originals was still making film. So I said, why not? And I first my first pack was horrible. Got done. All the other hands jammed or overexposed. So I said, scrap it. But my mom said, if you want to do old photography and gave good results because Polaroid is shit, that's what he says, go buy a 35 millimeter camera. So I did because my mom never bought me one when I was a child. So my first camera was a Kodak 35 millimeter point and shoot. And if I didn't broke it, that camera is amazing. It's like, I don't know why so much people Olympus XAs because Kodak has some very, very good point and shoots. And I shot my first roll and sent it to the darkroom because here in Puerto Rico there's not even one that does color. So that was my first experience with film in color. And the next camera I bought was a Argus C3, which made me into more to 35 millimeter shooting, and I bought a setup to develop my own film. And I started shooting with old Sparrow I think it was the old Kodak film I found on the flea market, and it was horrible, fogged as hell, and I started into looking to more cameras, but my flea markets are not that good because in Puerto Rico we're in a tropic, so almost all cameras are rusted or full of fungus because we live in the coast, so humid. It's a humid climate, and there's salt from the sea. So most of the cameras just broke. So I started looking into cheaper Polaroid cameras to see if I can get into 4x5 shooting. I don't know why I wanted to go big, and that's what I did. I bought a Polaroid 800 camera. I don't know if you can see it well, and I started doing sketching and drawing stuff. And this camera was not my first camera I modified. Instead, was this because I had no way to develop film. I modified a Polaroid 150 with a Polaroid. I don't know. It was a Japanese Polaroid lens, and I did an instant white back because it was the most easy and mechanical way to do it because I didn't have a 3D printer or nothing at hand. And this camera is amazing. I have shot a lot of film with that camera, and I just love it. And it's the sharpest camera I own right now, and probably my favorite. And this one made me into.
Can you hold the lens up close so I can see? Is that? It looks like a Pathfinder Esarix or something like that.
Yes, it's a 127 millimeter Yashica Yashinon. It's a Pathfinder land camera lens in a Seikosha LSLV shutter. It has from 1 second to 500. It's 4 by 4 maximum aperture. It's 4.7. It's
Yeah,
really sharp at 11 and 16, like extremely sharp. I got some images samples. Exactly one. I just don't share too much of the images I did with this camera because I usually just give away. Let me try and present it.
That is a great lens. I have almost the same lens on a camera that Graham made for me that shoots, 6 by 12 format. I really like it. It has a lot of character too. Good lens.
Can you see my screen?
Not yet.
Okay, I think now. This is one of my favorite images I have taken with it.
Yep.
My type of photography is mostly, I don't know if it's street, but I like to shoot buildings, people just outside because I love to shoot people, but I'm not too good at it right now because
Hey, Brian, can we back this up for a second? What do you
sure,
do for a living? Are you a artist, an engineer, a student?
I'm studying electrical engineer at my university.
Of course you are. And before we go any further, do you
I'm
have a
too young
website?
just my Instagram right now. I
Okay.
post most of my work here. I do a lot of photography from Polaroid, black and white, 4x5. I have been into a lot into paper positive and paper negative. It's a shame I haven't posted anything in Instagram yet, but I just love doing paper positive because paper is cheap. I like to do things on the cheap. Most of most of most of my cameras are my homemade cameras are below 100, and I just try to get everything as cheap. I have talked with a bit with Ethan about selling one of my inventions. I don't know if it counts as
Hey, Brian,
a
real quick,
homemade camera.
kill your screen share. We
Oh,
can't see you.
okay. So I don't know if this camera counts as a homemade camera, but it's a modification to a Polaroid 800, which was my main idea to shoot 4x5 in it. And I have two iterations. One, which it's like a 4x5, like a Graflex, but it doesn't have the ground glass. It can be installed, but not just like the Graflex one, which you just insert it here and the ground. Having a lot of trouble doing a 3D printed bag which can hold the ground glass and has the tabs for maximum compatibility with 120 film and sheet holders and Polaroid sheet holders. And the main problem I have in it's with these cameras, it's the position of the viewfinder and rangefinder views. I don't know if you can see it, but it's here. And the back, as it's 4x5, it's bigger than the 3x4 she was made for. Almost instantly interrupt the viewfinder, so it makes my designs very hard. So I have to troubleshoot a lot on them. But I plan to do a final version or just sell these two separate things for different people, and I just want to sell them pretty cheap, pretty much as the cost of the filament and shipping, because I want to revive these cameras. They're amazing, especially the ones with the Pathfinder lens. Don't get me wrong, this 800 lens is pretty amazing. I have some shots of it in my Instagram. It's really good and has no vignetting, which is surprising because it was a very low end 3x4 lens. But I just want to revive these cameras. Basically, all my designing is to try to revive Polaroids or other cameras. Although in this pandemic, I have been entertained doing a 6x7 paper positive camera. It's made from cardboard, as you can see on duct tape, and it's great. The lens is from a Xerox copy machine, and this lens cost me $5. It renders a very amazing pictures. The only thing I don't like about it, it's the maximum aperture is f16, and for doing paper positive without a shutter, you need a longer exposures, and sometimes my exposure are just 1 second, and it's hard on the camera made from cardboard doing a fast one second shutter.
You
And
need some Waterhouse stops.
I looked into it, but I don't know if the stops can be placed between the elements or behind. I have not opened it yet to see what I can do, but if I can do them on front, on the back, I could 3D print them very easily.
You can, for sure. They're maybe not as optimized for, what do you say, refraction, but you absolutely can add a front or rear cap diaphragm to those lenses.
I don't have it right now, but I have done a 105 millimeter Graflex 2x3. I made the aperture myself, and I tried to do it behind the lens, but it vignette like crazy. I tried on front and did the same. So as I had only the two elements, I just did it in between, and it works great, but it's not completely accurate with the posture. So I haven't tested out so much more with it yet.
Back to the Polaroid camera. Isn't that Polaroid camera that you're using? It's one of the roll film Polaroids. Am I right on that?
Film.
I'm sorry.
Yes,
say that again.
there were the films. Yes,
Yeah.
they were the first time of roll film.
Yeah.
Polaroid, they had the film go to real year, and
So
it's not pack film, sadly.
Well, one of the things that's nice about that is those cameras, because that roll film is done and gone. Those cameras are cheap in and of themselves because nobody's looking at them to use them. So doing a back on that, I think, is a great idea. I think that's an ideal.
And also, I was
Yes,
wondering
I
if you,
800 ones. Yes.
if you can put a just put a external viewfinder on top to solve that issue with the film back getting in the way. Maybe just a little holder or a homemade viewfinder would solve that. Am I missing something?
Viewfinder is not an issue. It's a rangefinder because they are both really, really close. Rangefinder and I can't. And that's I don't want to lose the rangefinder option on this camera.
Right.
Also, they have to, let's call it distance guessing. I don't know how it's called. But I really hate doing that. I really love my rangefinder or SLR. I have some 3D designs about doing a DIY super easy and cheap rangefinder for. Basically, I want to do external viewfinder and rangefinder for these cameras or other cameras, but I found the mechanism of doing rangefinder, it's really, really hard, especially because the rangefinders, most of them need a semi-transparent glass mirror, and doing sort precision movements of a mirror with something 3D printed is not exactly accurate.
So, Brian, I wanted to comment. I also designed an external rangefinder to be 3D printed, and the math works out in SolidWorks for sure. And I was able to find, you want a 50-50 plate beam splitter, which you can probably for like $2 if you're willing to wait 3 or 4 months for it to ship. I also had the problem of, when I put it together, it worked in that it moved and the image moved around, but like the bumps in the 3D printed cams were, like the maximum level from close focus to infinity was like 1.5 degrees of mirror movement. And so it just like, I had the mirror doing all of this because the cam was so bumpy. And so I thought about sanding it. I have a resin printer. I cannot buy alcohol to clean my resin prints right now because of the pandemic. But one of them is really making the cam and the cam follower for the lens out of just a resin print that's super precise, if not strong, but there's not a lot of force on such a thing. I'm wondering about that. It's not something that I have solved yet, but I think if you were going in that direction, see if you can get your hands on a resin print for the cam and the cam follower, maybe some of the pivots.
Well, one thing that I actually thought about
actually
at
have
one
made
point.
a cam for one of these cameras because it had a strip screw, and I for the life I could not take out the screw, so I just scanned the cam from one of these cameras I got extra, and I 3D printed one with PLA and say this is not gonna work. Just sanded it a bit, and it works. It's not 100% accurate, but it works, and it doesn't have that much of a bumpiness. I don't know if this cam is different, but it can be done. But I gave up because I'm trying to do it differently, using half side and half odometer. If I can share a video somewhere from what I see on YouTube, it's basically a very bare bones rangefinder, which you cannot trust. But I just wanted to do it as a project so everybody can 3D print it at home and try it themselves with some cheap mirrors they have in the home. But I have still finished it yet.
Hey, I did a quick eBay search on Model 800 Polaroid land camera. The cheapest one that I found was $10 or best offer. Here's one new in the box for $30 plus $20 shipping from Knoxville, Tennessee to my house in Florida. But yeah. Here's one thing that I will say. I don't think that you want to sell the conversion back. You want to convert them and sell the camera.
Yes, one friend of mine said that to me, so that's why I have 3 right now. And
yeah.
One of them is the first Polaroid model that came out, and it's not the best model, but I want to try it just because it's the first Polaroid. I want to revive it. They're very cheap, especially the 95, the 150, and the 800. They are the cheapest ones. They can be obtained from less than $30.
Yeah.
Hey, Lucas, did you have some thoughts on making homemade rangefinders?
Oh, yeah. So one thing that I was thinking about is you can get PCBs CNC'd for incredibly cheap, like $10 for a huge stack, and you can send them custom pathways. So a CNC PCB might be a good option for a cam.
I actually just had a bunch of these scanner PCBs that I've been making shipped, and I went to a new manufacturer. I've been using JLC PCB, which is dirt cheap, and it was so cheap I started thinking of what are all of the mechanical components that I could just make out of FR4 boards, and gold plate the letter. That's you might start making gears out of
using PCBs for cons. That's crazy.
They're so cheap.
Yeah, you can get a stack of them for $10, and I don't know how accurate that would be, but it might be accurate enough and smooth enough for a cam. But I think it might be worth a shot.
It is. I will take a look into that.
Level, a 96-cent board with shipping from China, and like you can get a prototype of 5 of these boards for something like $15 or less. And I mean, this is a huge board compared to like a cam or whatever. I'm really excited to see people start making mechanical things out of fiberglass circuit boards. Super smart.
That sounds fun.
Yeah. Hey, it looks like. Oh, sorry.
So,
go ahead, Brian.
So my next project is to do a better job at doing this and jump into the Polaroid packs. It can be done, but with just roll film with 120. It can be done with 4x5 film because the lens doesn't cover, and you need to do a lot of changing of the film plane, and it's very hard. But I want to revive those cameras too. I have a Polaroid 340, which is amazing. I just love all other Polaroids. They're very great. So basically, that's my job here, reviving all Polaroids and making new ones.
That's great. Hey, does anybody have any questions for Brian? Brian, you've done a very
I do have one quick question. For the Instax conversion you made, did you modify a Instax camera, or did you have the Lomography Instax back?
I just bought a broken Instax 210 and just removed the back and glue it back together. Like You can see the remaining of the 210.
How did you figure
So
out? Oh, go ahead.
So when you operate, I'm just curious. Do you have to do you press the shutter button for the Polaroid camera and then the shutter button for the Instax, or is it all kind of streamlined together?
No, it's just you cock the shutter, press the shutter, then eject the film. You have to keep the button pressed until every film ejects. It's a very manual ejection because this Instax 210 has everything. The ejection mechanism is very electronic with some sensors and stuff that I
Yeah.
could not figure out at the time, so I have to do it manually. The Instax Mini, I have modified. I do manage to get the ejection going automatically because Instax Minis has everything with gears and mechanisms, so you just connect one sensor to the mechanism and it stops automatically. And just
nice.
Let me show it. Give me a second.
Yeah.
I really want to know how Brian has aligned the film plane.
Well, I actually tried doing that. I tried doing something kind of similar to this, and I gave up on it. But what I did is I took a film pack and put a ground glass inside of it. It kind of worked, kind of.
This is my last homemade camera. It's a Instax Mini with a Mamiya press lens. It's the most stupid camera I've made to date, but it works. I had a very painful calibration because I don't know why the Mamiya lenses have different film planes. It's just very hard. I had some inspiration from the Branco pan, and I made it. It's very absurd and stupid, but it's a very good Instax. Yes, I ran out of black filament, so that was it taped out to there, but it fits with just two screws. And I thought about selling it just as a kit, but probably I just end up in Thingiverse.
Hey, can you hold that up higher so I can see?
I think that's pretty impressive. I like it.
Is that the 100 or the 65 lens?
65 millimeter lens.
Wait, Brian, while you're holding it up, say something because then your screen will be recorded.
What do you want me to say?
Sorry, just hold it up higher so we can see it. Now make a sound because we only record the speaker.
It's the Mamiya press lens, and it's automatically ejecting. And it has the most important thing, it has a tripod hole. That's the most important thing. I added a tripod hole down there because it's very front heavy, and hand holding it is great. Doesn't weigh too much, but from lower time exposure, you need a tripod. Also, the viewfinder, it's 75 millimeter, so it couples greatly with the camera.
Do you find that there's a significant increase in the quality of the image with the increase in the quality of the lens?
Increase in what? Sorry, I don't hear you.
Increase in the quality of the image along with the increase in the quality of the lens. Do you see a real difference in the photograph?
Yes, but with Instax wide, not with Mini. I had a very, very hard time to doing the infinity focus with this because my ground glass was very badly made, and when I throw a pack on it, I didn't see sharpness at infinity, so it was really, really hard. But doing portraits and close-up images, it's where the lens modification really shines. On this camera, from infinity to close-up, it really shines because Instax wide is very big, and you can see the sharpness a lot. I tried to do a comparison with the Instax 210 and this modification one, but my other Instax 210 just died, so I cannot do a side by side from each camera. But if you want to try and modify Instax camera, stick to the square or the wide one. Mini is just not worth it. I just did it for fun because I had a broken Mini and a 3D printer and a lens.